Maine Mendoza, Alden Richards, and the My Forever Date Valentine message that sparked conversations. Valentine's Day has always been a season of grand gestures, meaningful confessions, and carefully chosen words. But sometimes it only takes one simple phrase to send an entire fandom into deep reflection. This year, the phrase that caught everyone's attention was My Forever Date. Was it a coincidence, a friendly greeting, or a meaningful message layered with emotion? Fans couldn't help but connect the dots, especially when the names Maine and Alden are involved. A phrase that feels bigger than it sounds. On the surface, My Forever Date sounds sweet and harmless. It's the kind of caption people use to celebrate love, friendship, or even cherished memories. But when it appears in a context involving two personalities whose history carries emotional weight, every word suddenly feels intentional. For longtime supporters of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards, the phrase didn't feel random, it felt familiar, because their story has always been about timing, connection, and unspoken depth. The legacy of a love team that became a movement. When Maine and Alden first captured public attention, it wasn't just about entertainment. It became something cultural. Their chemistry felt natural, unscripted, and emotionally resonant. Viewers didn't just watch, they invested their hearts. Over time, the pairing evolved beyond television moments. It became a symbol of hope, killing, and shared dreams. Even years later, nostalgia surrounding their partnership remains powerful. So when Valentine's Day arrives, a day associated with love, destiny, and meaningful declarations, fans naturally become more observant. Coincidence or makabuluhang mensahe? Makabuluhang mensahe, a meaningful message. That's how many supporters describe the Valentine's greeting. Not dramatic, not explosive, but significant, because context matters. The timing, the wording, the emotional undertone. Some fans believe it was simply a heartfelt but general Valentine's wish. Others believe it carried layers only those involved truly understand, and perhaps that's the beauty of it. Interpretation.
Power of subtlety.
Maine Mendoza has always been thoughtful with her words. Alden Richards has always carried himself with quiet sincerity. Neither is known for reckless statements or unnecessary drama. That's why subtle gestures hit harder. A simple phrase like Happy Valentine's Day passes quietly. That phrase invites curiosity. That phrase invites it's curiosity, it suggests continuity, connection beyond seasons. And when two names with shared history are involved, even subtlety becomes powerful. Why fans still feel the magic time has passed. Careers have grown, paths have evolved, yet one thing remains constant: the emotional connection fans feel toward the Maine and Alden narrative. Valentine's Day amplifies that feeling. It reminds people of first sparks, of moments that felt unscripted and genuine, of shared laughter and longing glances that once defined an era. So when a meaningful message surfaces, especially one that hints at forever, it feels like reopening a chapter that was never fully closed. The beauty of ambiguity. Not every meaningful message needs clarification. Sometimes ambiguity keeps the magic alive. Was it romantic? Was it symbolic? Was it simply nostalgia wrapped in poetic words? Perhaps only Maine and Alden know. And maybe that's okay, because part of what made their story captivating was the space between what was said and what was felt. Valentine's Day, a reminder of what once was or still is. Valentine's Day doesn't just celebrate current love stories, it also honors memories, lessons, and connections that shaped us. For many fans, Maine and Alden represent a chapter of joy that defined a specific moment in time. So whether My Forever Date was a direct message, a coincidence, or simply a sweet expression, it achieved one undeniable thing. It reminded people of how powerful their connection once felt, and the meaning behind forever. The word forever doesn't always mean romantic eternity. Sometimes it means a friendship that left a lasting mark, a partnership that changed careers, a shared history that cannot be erased, a chapter that shaped identities. Maybe My Forever Date is less about present romance and more about acknowledging a bond that will always exist in some form. A Valentine's Day that sparked reflection. In the end, what made this moment special wasn't confirmation or denial. It was reflection. Reflection on growth, reflection on legacy, reflection on a connection that once united millions. Whether coincidence or makabuluhang mensahe, the phrase reignited warmth in the hearts of those who once believed in something magical. And perhaps that is the true power of words, especially on Valentine's Day, because sometimes you don't need a public confession to make people feel something again. Sometimes a simple, my forever date is enough to remind everyone that some stories, no matter how they evolve, are never truly forgotten. When silence speaks louder than announcements, what made the Valentine's message even more intriguing was not just the phrase itself, but the calm that followed. There was no immediate clarification, no lengthy explanation, no dramatic follow up. And sometimes silence carries more weight than words. For years, both Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards have mastered the art of speaking carefully. They understand the power of a single statement. They know how quickly narratives can spiral. So when something meaningful appears, especially on a day like Valentine's, fans instinctively lean in because they know these two don't post randomly. A shared history that still echoes. There are partnerships that fade with time, and then there are partnerships that become part of pop culture memory. Maine and Alden belong to the latter. Their connection once defined an era. It brought families together in front of television screens. It created communities online. It sparked conversations across generations. Even today, old clips trend. Throwback photos resurface. Edits gain thousands of views. That kind of impact doesn't disappear. So when Valentine's Day arrives, a day that naturally revives feelings of romance and destiny, even the smallest gesture becomes magnified. The meaning behind my forever date. Let's look deeper at the phrase itself. Forever implies longevity. Date implies shared time. Together, it suggests continuity, a bond that transcends ordinary timelines. But forever doesn't always mean romantic partnership. Sometimes it means a connection that shaped who you became, a friendship that influenced your growth, a chapter that will always matter. Maybe my forever date wasn't about reigniting a past love story. Maybe it was about honoring a shared journey that changed both their lives forever. And perhaps that is even more meaningful. Coincidence or intentional timing? Fans also pointed out the timing. Valentine's Day is not just another day on the calendar. It is symbolic, it is emotional, it is filled with expectations. Posting a phrase like that during such a moment naturally invites interpretation. Was it simply festive spirit? Was it poetic expression? Was it nostalgia? Or was it something deeper, something only the two truly understand? The beauty of meaningful messages is that they don't need loud explanations. Sometimes they are meant to be felt, not decoded. Growth changes the narrative. Both Maine and Alden have matured significantly since the height of their pairing. Their careers expanded, their priorities evolved, their perspectives deepened. Growth changes how people communicate. Perhaps what once required grand gestures now requires only subtle acknowledgement. Perhaps what once needed public validation now lives comfortably in quiet understanding. And that quiet understanding might be what my forever date represents. Why fans still hold on. The reason this Valentine's moment sparked such intense reaction is simple. Emotional investment never fully disappears. For many supporters, Maine and Alden represent a time of excitement, innocence, and hope. Their dynamic once felt spontaneous and pure, something rare in showbiz. So when a meaningful phrase surfaces, it doesn't just feel like a caption, it feels like a memory knocking on the door. And memories are powerful. The magic of unfinished stories. Some stories end clearly, others remain open ended. The main Alden narrative has always felt slightly unfinished, not in a dramatic way, but in a way that leaves space for imagination. And perhaps that's why even a simple Valentine's greeting can reignite discussion, because unfinished stories invite reflection. They allow people to revisit feelings without demanding closure. A Valentine's message that became a moment. In the end, whether coincidence or makabuluhang mensahe, one thing is certain. The phrase my forever date achieved something rare. It brought warmth. It sparked conversation. It reminded people of a connection that once united millions. And maybe that's enough. Not every meaningful message needs confirmation. Not every emotional reaction needs an explanation. Sometimes the magic lies in what remains unsaid. And on a day dedicated to love, that quiet magic may be the most powerful message of all.